And it just really taught me that, like, no matter what happens, like, I have my mind. And as long as I have a positive mindset around it, then I don't need to have unnecessary suffering. Because I could have easily gone in there and been like, oh, for fuck's sake, the freaking government, like, how dare they do this to me? Like, and just literally, yeah, motherfucker. And just like put myself through 2 weeks of torture.
Yeah.
Where it's like, you don't need to do that.
That is so sick.
Yeah.
Andy the Stoic.
Do your thing, chicken wing.
Coming at you from Australia. I'm Freddie Lancha. And this
is Andy.
Is Andy. And this is the Post Definitions Podcast. By far the most professional yet.
I've heard, yeah.
You heard the unprofessional episodes?
No, the professional. Yeah. The most professional podcast.
Yeah, the most professional podcast of all of them.
Yeah.
Of all the ones out there.
Yeah.
So, we're going to start this off with something new. Even though all of this is new, we're going to ask some rapid fire questions. And those questions are...
Okay.
I don't know if the mic will pick that up. It would sound like weird slapping meat.
There's a drum roll.
There's a drum roll. So, Andy, what makes you feel like you the most?
Ooh, okay. First thing that pops into my mind would be the ocean. I have this weird relationship with the ocean, and I just always feel at home and at peace when I'm in the ocean. But second to that, probably actually on the same level, I'd probably say when I'm in the presence of somebody who I just have unconditional love with, for whether that's like a family member or a friend. You know, there's people who you just feel so safe and just like you can just be whatever mood, whatever energy you want to be.
That's sick.
Yeah.
Shout out to unconditional love. We were just the last episode or 2 episodes ago.
Yes.
It was all about unconditional love. My friend is exploring this idea.
Yeah, I saw that clip. I was like, oh, love that for him.
Yeah, cool. But you were experiencing it. That's awesome with some people. Wow.
Definitely. It's definitely something I've realized. I'm like, oh, in the past I've definitely put conditions on people's love. And like, oh, that's not real love, is it? So let's change the script there.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe we can explore some of that more, but this is rapid fire questions.
Yeah. Sorry.
No. Sorry. I'm like stopping myself from asking more questions.
Love it.
So what is your spirit city, Andy?
Oh, Spirit City. Okay. Okay, I was going to say the Gold Coast because that's where I live and I just love it. They're morning people, they exercise, they're social, they're happy. I mean, everything I love. But I would actually say my Spirit City it's not a city, it's a tiny little town in England called St. Mawes, and it is probably one of my favorite places in this whole wide world. We're very fortunate that we get to go to this beach house and it's literally like right on the water and everyone's just, it's just the most beautiful place. I just love it.
Wow, cool.
It's just this like tiny little town. And yeah, there's a little community and
Is it a community of young people, old people?
No, old people. But then I do have some friends who regularly go down at the same time. We've known each other since I was like 8 years old, so it's really nice.
Wow.
Yeah, it's just so peaceful.
Awesome.
There's bad reception there as well. There's no reception at the house, which I love.
Where in England is that?
It's in Cornwall.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, down near the boot side of England.
Right. I've never been there. I've never been south of London, I think.
Oh, okay. Well, you got to experience it one day.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, now that I'm surfing.
Yeah. That's my Spirit City.
Sick. And what book do you wish you wrote?
The Alchemist. Have you read it?
Nice one. Yeah, I have, of course.
Oh, I actually only read it this year. And I was like, how have I not read this before?
How have I not written this before?
How did I not write this? I thought of this idea, I swear. Yep.
Cool. Yeah, one of my favorite books. I read back to back with The Alchemist. I read Siddhartha by Hermann Hesse.
Oh, I haven't
which
heard
you should
of it.
read.
Okay.
Because you like Alchemist.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the books that I would have been pretty happy if I wrote.
Pretty stoked.
Yeah. So, which movie do you wish you starred in?
Hannah Montana the movie. That's the easiest question.
You are Hannah Montana?
I wanted to be Hannah Montana when I was younger.
And how about now?
Still want to be Hannah Montana.
Are you getting there?
Yes.
You have your own show.
I do. I have my own show. I have the best of both worlds.
Yeah, sick.
It's such a good movie.
Nice answer. I don't want to end the movie. And what about the TV show? Would you star in that as well?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. And which famous person? So Andy has her own podcast, by the way.
Yeah.
Which famous person would you be most excited to learn that they're a fan of your podcast?
I want to be basic and say Joe Rogan, but I'll pick someone else. Stephen Bartlett, who's the host of Diary of a CEO podcast, which is huge. I love his podcast. And if I heard that he was a fan of me, I would probably eat my hat.
Eat your hat.
I would eat my hat.
Is that a saying?
It's a really British saying. That's something my granny would say. Yeah, I would be fangirling for sure.
Nice.
Yeah, he's cool.
Okay, yeah, I don't know him, but I'll check it out.
Oh my God. You learn so much from Stephen.
I'm actually not much of a... I don't listen to many podcasts. It's new that I listen to podcasts.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I started with Philosophize This with Stephen West.
Ah, deep thinking.
Yeah. It's actually makes it quite simple.
Okay.
That's a good podcast, right?
Yeah.
They make complicated stuff seem
Simple.
easy, yeah.
That's when you know something. Is when you can make it simple. Bang.
Bang.
Mic drop.
If you only could drop this mic, it would be on the floor.
Exactly.
So that's it for the rapid fire questions. You crushed it. That was sick.
Thank you.
Maybe we'll do that again. Not with you, but maybe I'll try that again.
Oh, was that a new segment of
It
the
was a new
podcast?
segment. I mean, it's the only segment. That
Guys,
exists
message Freddie if you enjoyed it. Let him know.
Yeah, feedback is great.
Yeah.
All the feedback I received, I'm like so happy about it. So
Good. I love that.
So, Andy, let's. Do you want to introduce yourself now?
Okay.
Yeah, I'm putting you on the spot.
Okay. Ooh, all right.
Just in any way you feel.
Howdy, everyone. I'm Andy. I don't know what to say. I'm a 23-year-old hyper blonde girl who lives on the Gold Coast in Australia, if you can't hear from my accent. Okay. I enjoy meeting new humans. As Freddie said, I have a podcast where we get to learn and grow together, which is really fun from the guests that we have on. And I really just think my mission in life is just to spread joy and empower people. So that's what I'm on a mission to do.
Yeah, that's so good.
Yeah.
So that's a great intro, and then the rest will just we're gonna explore who you are in this podcast. Actually, if that doesn't sound super weird,
It's fine. I'm here for it.
yeah, sick. Yeah, I feel like that's from what I know about you so far, you are here for it. Like you are very open minded and excited about just doing things and pursuing like cool projects and whatever, right?
Yeah.
Have you always been like that?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I don't know. I think because I've moved around so much, I've always been kind of thrown in the deep end, and now I have like a attitude of like, cool, down for it. Let's go. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, nice. So like even if you don't think something is necessarily something you would normally do, and someone else is doing it, and it's not drugs. Someone else is doing it. Maybe it's drugs, but then you have an open mind and you're like, oh well, I've never considered doing this before, but why not?
Yeah, definitely. Because I just think I'm 23. I don't know anything.
Yeah.
Like I'm so young, so I'm like, my way of doing life is not the only way. So I'm like, I'm really curious about how other people do lives. But if it's drugs or alcohol, I'm so like, no.
Okay, fair enough. So I guess right.
Uh,
Yeah, that's awesome. And whatever your reason is, like you say, I'm 23. What do I know? But I hope that when I'm 43, I also am like, I'm just 43. What do I know?
yeah.
So maybe for me, it's like, that's a great reason. It's a great motivator to just be open to being wrong and exploring and knowing that there's stuff out there you don't know.
Definitely.
But
I'm like, whoa, so much I don't know.
yeah, but even just like regardless of age, I think that could be true.
Definitely. I think life would be so boring if you stopped learning. I literally think like a purpose in life is like one, to make connections, but two, just to learn and grow. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are connections?
Connections, I think of like with people.
Mm.
Like I truly think that's like one of the only reasons. Like imagine if you just had all the success in the world without any beautiful connections. It wouldn't mean shit.
Yeah.
Like that your success is like only exciting when you have people to celebrate with.
Yeah, I think you said that right. A lot of people are often saying like, oh, money doesn't buy happiness, blah, blah, blah. What if you have like a big house and a big car and no one to share it with? They just answered their question right there. Like what they want is like connections with people. Like first and foremost, a lot of people, they're like, what if you have all this money but you die alone? Like, and then for some reason, not as many people make that step of like saying like, I want to have like deep and meaningful connections, as they say, money doesn't buy happiness, something like that. Like basically, I feel like you solved it. Like it's very important to meet people and make connections and have the like unconditional love experiences and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And also have that overlap with learning. Like you're saying, don't just go to school and learn, but like have new experiences and learn that way, right?
I love that quote. It's like money doesn't buy happiness. I'm always curious about what people think of that, because I agree and disagree with that statement at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want to explain that?
Sure. So I think if you don't have enough money to have like a good level of living, of course you're going to have unnecessary suffering. Like stressing about paying your bills, that would be an awful feeling to have. And so like, of course that's going to diminish your happiness. But I think past a certain point of having like all your basic needs met, plus having some bit of fun money, bit of like travel money or whatever, like you don't need to be traveling on a private jet. I think once you get to a certain point, I think money doesn't have an increase. I think it's the love and connections you have. Because like I've been extremely fortunate to go to like private schools and be around extremely wealthy people and be from a wealthy family. And like I can hands down say that I've been in the most bougiest houses, but if you're alone in that house, like it doesn't matter. Like that house isn't going to bring you happiness. It's who fills that house is what matters. And then you can be like in a small average house, but if you're just, it's filled with laughter and connection, then that is like real wealth in my hands. Like I still think money's so important because it equals freedom. You don't want to be a slave to your job. So like still be smart with your money and invest, but don't think when I have the car, when I have $1 million, when I have the house, then I'll be happy. It's like be happy now or don't. That's your options.
Yeah, very smart. So there's all these podcasts out there about how to make money, how to have a career, make business connections, stuff like that. How to like have success. I think like yeah. And let's talk about how you would create a house of laughter. Like,
oh, okay.
Yeah.
First of all, by the way, I just want to say that I do love those podcasts about like how to make money and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, because I find it fun.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, like I like that stuff.
Cool.
I still back it. Just don't think that you'll have the money and then the happiness. It's like have the happiness and be building the money.
Also find it fun if you're going to do it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. There's no point doing it if you're suffering. Okay, wait, what was the question? How do you build a house
of laughter?
Of laughter. I mean, it's finding the right people. Yeah, it's definitely finding the right people and who you just feel like you can be your truest self with. You know those people who like you, for me personally, I love finding the people where like I can be the happy, positive Andy and I love her. But then equally, I can be sad Andy or tired Andy and it doesn't matter. Like they're not like, oh, I only love you when you're happy, positive Andy, you know? So it's just like having those people where you can be like all your emotions.
Right.
Yeah.
So I guess one way you might find out is just by being all those things and seeing who accepts you.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. Because we're everything. Like you can't, it would be weird if you're happy all the time. It'd be so weird. Then you wouldn't appreciate it either. Because you'd be like, well, I feel this all the time. Although I will admit, like, I am happy and energetic most of the time. But having those down moments are great. Like, I actually really appreciate them. I'm like, oh, cool. I'm human. I feel all the emotions.
Yeah.
Yep.
So there's like a distinction between being happy and then like you're saying you can appreciate being down. And would you call that being happy as well? This is like a stupid kind of like, I don't know.
No. I like it. No, I think it's more like being peaceful. Like yesterday, my housemate was like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "Yeah." I'm like, I'm just really tired, and I'm like, I wasn't feeling sad, but I was just like, I wasn't feeling ecstatically energetic or happy, and I was just like, I genuinely just feel peaceful and feel okay that I'm just like not having super stoked emotions right now. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, but then just I don't know. Now I'm just like, it'll pass. It's normal. It's fine.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that, for me, if I just don't freak out that something's going to last forever, I probably don't really care that much about it.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I feel like as soon as you accept your emotions, then they change so much quicker than like being like, oh my God, I'm down. Oh my God, I'm down. What's wrong with me? What's wrong with me? You know, it's like if you have an off day at the gym, you don't really think much of it. But then as soon as you have an off day, you think like, oh my God, something's wrong with me. Like, I'm broken. Like, what? It's like, no, it's fine.
Totally. Yeah, I was talking to some guy who is a stoic.
Oh.
He's like a modern day stoic.
Can you explain what stoicism is?
Sure. It's a lot of things, I suppose. But on the surface level of my understanding is that it's sort of not quite a religion, but it's a philosophy or way of life where you try to not, get upset about things. It kind of like what you're saying, like if you feel emotions, you just don't let them get to you. Don't let them get you down in the end.
So it's very like simple ways.
Oh, you know what it actually is? I think the real definition is like, you could just look this up on the internet, but I'm going to try to explain it.
Yeah.
You only care about the things you can control.
Oh, love. Yeah. Love that. Yeah.
And then even to the extent that you can control things, you don't really care about them. You just do what you can.
Right. So you're not obsessed with the outcome. You're just choosing to control the action.
Something like that.
Yeah.
And there's like a stoic quote that like a stoic could be happy being burned alive. That's a pretty extreme version.
Jesus.
Yeah.
But who's going to confirm or deny that? Because they'll be dead. They can't give a review.
Yeah.
Okay.
Enough. I think it's a high standard to meet.
Okay. Sorry. I sidetracked you. Going on to what you're saying.
That's great. You're also a podcast host. we need to you need to make sure like people understand what I'm saying as well.
Yeah.
So what I was getting at is that so I was like, oh yeah, I don't believe in stoicism, like stoicism is possible like completely, but I also get it that like when I go to the gym and I feel pain, I don't associate that as a negative pain. So I don't freak out about it. I actually like it. You know, it's like a pain that I learned to love. When I like get sunburned, it doesn't even hurt, but I still like feel bad about it because I think it's bad for me. And so it's kind of like that. Like if you just believe something is good for you, you can make yourself not really mind it. And so then maybe if you turn that standard from like just loving everything, regardless of whether it's good for you or not, just like, you know, it's good for me to love everything. And then you just like love the pain and you just try to minimize it or something like that. Maybe that's possible.
Wow. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Because, you know, we love to associate with the quote unquote, and I'm putting this in bunny ears, guys, like the good emotions of like, you know, if you're feeling happy or joyful or excited, you'll happily say that. But then when you're feeling down, you don't want to like attach to those emotions. And it's like, why can't we just normalize feeling it all? And then once you do, you're like, cool, I'm a human being. Like I get to experience all of the emotions.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, that's why I appreciate feeling down or feeling sad when it does happen, because I don't know, I'm just like, cool, you're human. It's all good.
Yeah.
Yep.
So maybe we'll swap topics. And did you always like to create things like your podcast?
I've always loved like video, like editing videos. But then I've also loved like public speaking, and I've also loved just like helping people. Like even way back in like school, people would come to me and be like, I need help with this. And I would love to just kind of like, because I've always like read like self-help books from a young age and just been obsessed with like, like I'm talking like 11 or 12. Like I've always been a weirdo. And so then people would come to me and I'd be like, well, this is how to handle it, you know? So I've always loved that type of side of things.
Wow. Yeah. So you found your perfect passion.
Yeah. Yeah.
Are you able to exercise that in other things you do? Like your job or something like this?
Oh, yeah. So one of my jobs is doing team building for companies, but mainly how I do that is it's online. So we work with companies who have staff who all work from home, and they need team building as well. You know, they need the camaraderie. So what they do is they join this game and I'm like the host. It's so fun. So I'm like, hey guys, welcome to the game show. And I'm leading them through this fun game. And so that actually I have found has really helped my podcast, but then my podcast has really helped that because, you know, you're the host of like 25 people. They don't really know each other that well, and you're having to bring the energy through a screen. And so, and you almost feel like a little bit on the spot. But now that I've done it so much, I really back myself. So then it's also like helped my podcast, but then my podcast has also helped doing that. So that's definitely helped.
That's sick.
Yeah.
So where do you see this going? Do you want to more and more just do things like this, or do you have a dream?
Like with my podcast?
Yeah.
Oh, definitely, guys, mark my words. We're going to be the number one podcast in the world. I'm very excited. Don't know when, but it'll happen.
I could see it.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I've never met such a podcasty person. It's all lined up, right? you have podcasty person is like the worst way I could think of describing it. But, like, not that that's a bad thing, but I want to express something, but I'm failing to, you know.
No, you're doing a great job. And I will say, because I've moved so much when I was younger, like going to 12 schools and just meeting people all the time. Like I love meeting people and I love hearing about their story. That's helped with the podcast because if I do say so myself, I feel like I'm a good host because I know people.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, so that helps. So I feel like everything in my life is intertwined.
Yeah, part of the reason why I started this podcast is because I felt like, there was already so many amazing people behind me to have interviewed. And I was like, well, I better just start now.
Yeah.
So then the list doesn't just...
Yeah, you're great. You're great. Like
you.
when I met you the first night, you were just like firing off questions. I was like, damn, this guy's good.
I'm good.
You were. I was trying to get to know you guys, and then you come asking questions about me. I was like, stop it. I want to know about you guys.
You were not answering our questions. You're always weaving out of them.
Because I don't like, this is a different situation because I know you've invited me to talk about myself. I don't like talking about myself. I feel so icky. So I'm like, I want to know about you guys.
Yeah, already we're talking about like less about you than like any other podcast, I think. Well, actually, that's not true. Some of them, they talked a lot about their opinions, you know, rather than about themselves so much. But yeah, anyway. So you're very good at talking to people, getting to know people. Can you give any advice, general advice about asking the right questions and creating an environment for someone to be their authentic self and feel comfortable?
Love this. This is one of my favorite things. Yes. Okay. So first of all, I think a lot of people, it's so normal, like gets nervous in like social events or any type of interaction. They're really worried about an awkward silence. And so what they might do is they might like talk about themselves because they don't know what else to talk about. But I will tell you guys this. And if you've read How to Win Friends and Influence People, you'll already know this. People's favorite topic is speaking about themselves, and it's not in a narcissistic way, but if you can get people speaking about their passion. Like you're getting me to speak about something I'm passionate right now, so I'm firing it off. There's nothing wrong with it. So if you can like dig a little bit and find out what this person is passionate about, and then you'll get them start talking about that topic, it's like the best thing, because one, you'll see their eyes light up and it's just so good. And two, you're going to learn so much from whatever it is that they're passionate about.
Yeah.
But how to get to that, I don't really like small talk. I don't like it. It's just annoying, like, hey, what's your name? What do you do? But sometimes you got to do it just to get to like the thing.
Yeah.
I remember the first night we met, you were like, do you like to create art? And I was like, that is such a random question. But I loved it because it got us talking about like something else.
It's a very broad question.
It is.
It's like, well, everyone's like, well, kinda.
Yeah. Yeah. I always love asking people, if you got given $10 million today, what would you do? Because then people might say like, oh, I'd quit my job, or I'd keep my job and keep working on my passion, or I'd do this. And then you kind of get to understand what they value and what they want to do. And then you can ask more about that. I've kind of forgotten about the question. Am I answering the question right now?
No. Yes.
What was the question?
The question was about how to like talk to people and get to know them. So that's
okay.
exactly what you're answering.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. And another thing is that, okay, I'm going to talk about in like social settings, but also like work professional settings. In social settings, a lot of people are nervous. Like a lot of people are nervous before events. And so like if you realize that everyone else is nervous, then you can be somebody's like safety. Like you can make somebody feel safe and seen, which is so cool. So if you're going to an event, just know that everyone else is feeling nervous. So go up and speak to someone, because they'll actually really appreciate it.
Yeah, true.
And then they'll be like, oh my God, someone's speaking to me. You know, you don't need to be like, oh my God, I wonder if anyone will speak to me. It's like, go practice, go up to somebody. Yeah. And you'll feel scared the first time, the second time, the third time, but it'll get easier and easier. And then you just won't be able to stop yourself, really. My housemates are like, we hate going to events with you because you just speak to everyone. No, they don't hate it. They love it. But anyway, and then in professional settings, so like I am a personal assistant for this like engineering dude as well. And we'll have a lot of like professional networking things or meetings with like big dog investors, like high millionaires. And like in all of those settings, I'm always myself, because when you're yourself, and if I'm like, hey, what's up? And I'm like less professional, it invites them to be less professional.
Yeah.
Instead
Plus
of being
they just
like,
are not used to that probably.
Exactly. And so like they actually vibe with it. Yes, I will say vibe, lit, cool, all these words in front of these professionals, because it invites them to show their different side, and they all have it. And I love it. I love to see their like quirkier side. And yeah, it's refreshing. So definitely be yourself and get them speaking about something they're passionate about. Yeah, that's my advice.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, imagine working so hard to be professional, successful, and then just being stuck in that work like identity forever.
Yeah.
That would suck. Like everyone just treats you like you're some old boring professional person, and that they're scared to like offend.
Yeah. But what I've realized is I think a lot of young people who are in the corporate or business world think that they need to be professional. But the higher up you go, because I'm usually having meetings with the big dogs, I actually notice that they're a lot more charismatic than you think they are. And I think it's the young people thinking that they have to be professional. Like my boss is like the funnest, most outgoing person. And I'm always like, oh, for this meeting, like how Andy can I be? And he's like, oh, be full Andy, you know? And then we'll just be like bantering off each other in these like corporate settings. And it's so funny. And then, yeah, people love it. So I think it also helps like build relationships and networks. And then, you know, if you need a favor or they need a favor, it's really good.
That's amazing. Where do you think this professional thing comes from? Do you think that's just like an old tradition that just sucked and should be moved on from? Or do you think there's any benefit for being professional?
Yeah, I mean, I think it should get in the bin, but I haven't been in like, you know, the corporate world, or like I don't have a desire to climb a corporate ladder. So I can't really comment on that, but I think it should get in the bin, because everyone's just putting on these masks, and I feel like everyone's doing it because everyone did it. Yeah. Whereas like we need to stop putting these layers of things that aren't us. Like LinkedIn. Have you been on LinkedIn?
It's horrible.
I hate it. Everyone speaks in such a weird way. They're like, I'm delighted to announce I've been working at Deloitte for 5 years.
Yeah, and then there's a new tradition of just being like, "Doo-doo-doo, period, doo-doo-doo, period, doo-doo-doo, period." You know what I mean? Like they're like very direct and like. I think that's the new tradition on LinkedIn.
Oh, I hate it. Whereas I'll be like, woo, 2-year anniversary. So lit, fam. Yeah, I don't know. I'm very anti-professional, so.
I feel like if you, just try to be yourself, it's the new thing and you'll be appreciated.
It has. And it's always gotten me jobs, actually. Being myself has always gotten me jobs. And like I might not be the most qualified, but because I'm showing my energy, my enthusiasm, and my authenticity, I think people actually really appreciate that.
Yeah. And for your job, that makes you qualified.
Bang. Exactly.
Yeah.
When really I had 0 qualifications when I got hired as this PA. But we just had great banter.
Yeah. But you can't build a personality from work experience. So it's
Bang.
invaluable.
Put that on a t-shirt. Yeah, but you can get better at your job, which I definitely have.
Ah, awesome.
And it's helped me with my podcast as well, because obviously you have to be really organized with the PA role. And so then things that I organize, I'm like, oh, I could implement this with my life with organization. Yeah, there you go.
What were you doing before the podcast?
Before the podcast, I just graduated uni, and I think I had like 6 months between ending uni and starting the podcast. And those 6 months were like, I had like many meltdowns because I was just like, I don't know what I want to do. And I was like, I traveled to England to see my family because I hadn't seen them in like 3 years because of COVID. And I was there for like 3 months, but I wasn't working and I didn't have any passion projects and I didn't have uni. I didn't have anything. So I just had time to think.
Oh.
I know. Fun. And I was just feeling super lost and confused. And then I literally remember, and I'd wanted to start this podcast for ages. And then I remember my sister just being like, I just think you need to move back to Australia and start a podcast and call it Attitudes with Andy. And I was like, okay.
Wow. Good sister.
Yeah, literally the best. Yeah.
Cool. Speaking of meltdowns and not knowing what to do, I listened to one of your meltdowns on your podcast.
Oh my God, which one? There's 2 on there. The long form one?
It was about how you were sitting in a parking lot.
Oh, okay, the mini one.
Yeah.
The mini meltdown.
Mini meltdown.
Yeah.
There's a bigger one.
Yeah. Oh, there is. Oh, there's a way bigger one.
Yeah, cool. So it was about how you didn't know, you were wondering, you were questioning, who really am I? Where do I get my desires from? Do I really like the things I like, or did I just decide that, like, kind of like what I was saying about, I said I like going to the gym because I think it's good for me. I think you said, like, do I even like something? Or
Lifting
do I just,
weights, yeah.
Yeah, lifting weights, exactly. Or
Yeah.
do I just think it's good for me so I convince myself?
Yeah.
And I'm really curious just about exploring that topic. Like, I have lots of questions. Like, can something that you like not be you because it wasn't authentically you in the first place, or does it become you? And like, is that a bad thing? And how do you go about finding your authentic desires, your authentic self? I don't know.
Yeah. Look, these questions I'd love to know the answer to. No, I'm kidding. I'll try and answer them. But
no, I mean, nobody knows the answer, right?
This meltdown came because I actually just finished like an 8-week kind of like coaching container thing with this queen called Riley May Coaching. She does like mindset and business coaching. And at first I was like, this sounds so lame. Like I was very resistant to it. And then I was like, wow, are you feeling resistant to do it, hey? And then I was like, okay, it probably means I need to do it. Anyway.
Smart.
Yeah, smart. Anyway, I did it and it just like fucked me up in the best way possible. It was like a slap in the face because it was talking about how like, who are we really? And how are we just like being the person who we think we need to be loved? And I was like, oh. And it's like, are we just being the person who like we've been conditioned to be, or like people have put their beliefs and their things onto you? And I was like, whoa, it's crazy. So crazy. So I think that's where kind of like the mini meltdown happened, because I was like, wow, who am I? What do I actually enjoy? And, you know, before that, I just thought like I had everything figured out. I knew exactly who I was. I knew exactly what I wanted to be. And now I'm like, I know nothing, and that's okay. Or not nothing, like I have something to bring, but you know what I mean? And it was a very humbling experience. But the whole, like, what you like, whether is that you or have you just learnt that to be you, I don't really know. But I do know that, like, you know, when something just like feels really right and something re-energizes you, I think that's when that's you. And I'm realizing that we all are, we don't need to find ourselves. We already are ourselves. We just need to take off everything that's not us. So like, you know, as I was speaking about the professional layers, we need to take that professional facade off, or like our people pleasing hat off. It's like, stop just saying yes to everything and everyone. That's not you. And just like taking off these layers that aren't us to get to like the core of us.
Yeah.
I don't know if that answered your question at all.
Totally. Yeah. It's really good. I like the way you frame it. So yeah, you are you are there. You just need to take all that shit off.
Yeah. And at the same time, we're always going to be learning new things about ourselves, which is really exciting. I'm like, cool, I want to be 90 years old and still learning about myself. And I think you do that by being in new environments. I mean, that's why travel's so good, because it's so funny. Everyone thinks that travel is like this major glamorous thing. And it's like, when you've actually traveled, so much shit goes wrong. And then that's great, because you get to see how you react when you're stuck in a country where your passport has been lost, you can't get on a flight, or, you know, something like that, in like mildly stressful situations. I know it's still a first world problem, but, you know, you just get to see, or how you see yourself interacting in new communities, or seeing how people live their lives. I think that's where I personally learn a lot.
Yeah. Do you have an example of a time where you learned something about yourself through a new experience, through traveling maybe?
Okay. Yes. I'll give you the most recent one.
Cool.
Which was when as I said, I was in England, and it was just kind of when things were getting better after the Rona. And Australia was a bit cooked, and they brought in laws about how you couldn't go to any restaurants or venues. Like, you couldn't go to a lot of places if you didn't have the old jabby-dabby do. I won't say the full word. I don't want this to get censored. Anyway, and jabby-dabby do. We all know what we're talking about here.
Censored.
Anyway, so I managed to go overseas without getting this because of my own medical history. I can't get it. And so I wanted to be overseas because I didn't want to be over here when all of this cook shit was happening. Anyway, and I actually couldn't come. I booked my flights to come home, and then I went to catch the flight, and they said, you can't get on this flight because you don't have the jabby-dabby-do. And I was like, holy shit. I was like, what? I can't even go back to my own country without getting it. Anyway, so then I tried every single airline in the airport. I was having so many meltdowns. I was so worried I couldn't get back home. Anyway, and then one airline finally took me because I said, call Australian government. I'm an Australian citizen. I need to get on this flight. Anyway, got on this flight, and I knew that to get back into the country, I had to quarantine because I didn't have the jabby-dabby-do. But if I had had it, I wouldn't have to do it, which I think is discrimination, but it's fine. Anyway, sorry, this is mildly political, but this is just my beliefs. Anyway, and then I remember before I went in, I already knew that to get back into the country, I had to do 2 weeks hotel quarantine. So I'd fully accepted it and was like, I'm choosing to go into this. Like, this is my choice. This isn't like I'm going to be a victim and be like, this is so unfair. I have to do this. It's like, these are the rules. This is how I have to play the game if I don't want to get it. Anyway, and then I remember I landed in Australia, and I was so happy just to be in the country because I thought that I might not be able to get in. Anyway, and then I was on the bus to the old quarantine. I was chatting to the bus rider. We're having great chats, and he just goes like, gee, you are the like happiest person I've ever seen to be able to like go into hotel quarantine. And I was just like, yeah, of course, like, because I've already accepted that this is what I have to do, and I'm just grateful that I can get back into the country. And even when I was like checking in and chatting to like the police guards and the nurses, like we were having great banter and great chat, And it just made me realize, like, these people aren't choosing to, like, make the rules. This is their job. And, like, I don't need to hate on anyone or hate on the rules. Like, I can just accept it. And although I don't have, like, I have freedom in my mind that I can make these 2 weeks so enjoyable in a hotel room. And I did. Like, I had a lit time. They called me every single day to check up on me. And every single day I'd be like, yeah, I'm vibing, I'm good. And I was genuinely really good because I just decided that I am choosing to be here. I get 2 weeks to just focus on me, learn and grow, read books, watch YouTube videos. You know what I mean?
Yeah. When do you get that?
Exactly. I loved it because you
Wow.
had full permission where you didn't need to go out and do stuff during the day. So I actually really loved it. And it just really taught me that, like, no matter what happens, like, I have my mind. And as long as I have a positive mindset around it, then I don't need to have unnecessary suffering.
Wow.
Because I could have easily gone in there and been like, oh, for fuck's sake, the freaking government, like, how dare they do this to me? Like, and just literally, yeah, motherfucker. And just, like, put myself through 2 weeks of torture.
Yeah.
Where it's like, you don't need to do that.
That is so sick.
Yeah.
Andy the Stoic.
Andy the Stoic. So that was, like, a long-winded example.
Yeah. You have your mind. Put that on a t-shirt.
Bang. You have your mind, literally.
Yeah.
One of the quotes is like, I have my mind for life, so I'm going to invest in that. I'm like, bang. Yes, please.
That's so good. So good. I've also learned that lesson a few times and I love it. And I wish, like, I could just, like, put that into people's minds. You know, some people who, like, could feel, I think, better, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
It's such a good lesson. But yeah, I think it applies to certain problems and not others in my mind. But plenty of problems that people suffer.
Whilst we're here, we're going to have a quick intermission break. This podcast is sponsored by laughter. I'll tell you guys a joke. Okay. The joke is I'm really on the spot here. Hopefully Freddie's going to edit this out.